Hey, dude.
Hey, perfect.
You all good? I wonder if this is legal.
This is up on foil, a podcast for everyone flying just above the surface. Pump, carve, soar, let's foil!
Welcome to this super special episode of Up on Foil from the car with Dominic Hoskyns. Super cool, man.
Hey, dude. Yeah, driving back from Saint-Tropez
Good,
right now.
yeah. Just had the kids over for lunch and now they're back on school.
Just turning the
Where
volume
are you
right.
at the moment?
I'm about halfway back from Saint-Tropez on my way back to the Netherlands.
Are you still in France though?
Yeah, yes, I am. Land of the toll booths. I cannot believe how much it costs people to drive on the motorways here in France. There's a toll booth, I don't know, I've racked up a couple of €100 at least.
Right, yeah, that's absolutely true. All the time when I go to Spain, I'm always impressed as well because in Switzerland it's too cheap to drive. Well, let's just get into it, okay?
Sure thing, yeah.
All right. Before we start, I want to thank Hugar, Ricardas, and Sandro. They are my newest supporters on Patreon. They like the podcast, so thank you very much to those three. Everyone who enjoys the podcast and wants to keep the lights on, head over to Patreon. Up on foil links in the description. But now with Dominic Hoskyns, he's just going home from Les Ailes de St, which translates to the wings of Saint-Tropez, and there was an event. And I've just witnessed it on Instagram, a couple of reels here and there, and it looked amazing.
It was light winds, but all the events took place, and it was just epic. The atmosphere, the level of energy, it's amazing to watch the elite in action. But as I'm guessing the context of this podcast is more than just about the elite. It's about the FoilDrive Division.
Not only the event, how you had it, your personal story there, because you came over a day later. Is that correct?
Yeah, I was going to go for the full event from the 7th to the 12th, but I got invited to the Ensis dealer meeting to do a presentation about FoilDrive to Ensis and all the dealers there.
Very nice, very nice. And then came over to Saint-Tropez, and everyone was already on foil, cruising around when you got there.
Yeah, absolutely. I only missed the first day, so the presentation that I had to do was on the 7th, the first day of the Saint-Tropez event. So by the time I got there, my crew had already set up. They'd already done countless demos, and get this is really cool. They'd had enough time to just do some full driving around in the bay, just in front of the yacht club of Saint-Tropez, which is sort of like the next bay sort of out from Saint-Tropez harbour. So they were full driving around in the bay, and all these super yachts, apparently the owners were coming out and they were filming the foil drivers, and some of them even shouted over and said, "Hey, what are you doing?" And that whole thing of, how are you doing that? Well, how does it work? And some of them literally came over the next day. So when I arrived, the first day I was there, these yacht owners were coming up saying, "Yeah, that was us on the yacht, on that yacht over there. We'd really love to have a go." And so, yeah, it's just crazy how many people are interested to get involved with FoilDrive.
Very nice, very nice. And who was there from your team? It was Nico?
Yeah, Nico from Hotline on Instagram. Super talented guy. One of the nicest people you will ever meet. He's so willing to share information and just help the foiling community in general. Very well respected within the industry as well. He's actually starting to work for us a couple of days a week, in charge of the sales and events in Germany and surrounding countries. But he's constantly reviewing equipment, SUP-Foil, Indiana, Slingshot especially, but he uses a lot of other gear as well. Very knowledgeable, and very, very willing to share his experiences with other people. Andrea Di Paola, my partner in crime, my right-hand man. in FoilDrive Europe. He's based in Italy, but like me, we both travel around the whole of Europe doing events. And Teodoro.
Julia Castro.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Sorry, I was getting there as well. Yeah, but first of all, Teodoro, he's a North Team rider, very, very talented, so full of energy, a real positive energy. It's just a joy to be around him all the time. He's infectious, that sort of really friendly, positive vibe. And yeah, Julia Castro, an absolute genius at social media. She's been a pro rider. I would definitely say she's a water woman. She's got the full set of skills in all sorts of water and wind disciplines. And we're lucky enough to have her again a couple of days a week doing social media for us. And Tom Earl. So for the first time, Tom joined us at a big event. He's helped us with some events in the UK previous to Saint-Tropez, but he joined us for the first time and he just instantly bonded with the whole crew. It's so nice when that whole sort of vibe, when somebody new joins. Sometimes it can be a little bit difficult to fit into such a tight-knit group. Tom, instantly one of the family, such a lovely guy, absolute amazing skills at foil. He's just won the Kernow Foil Classic in the UK, prone surf event, and he rips, he really does. But he also loves FoilDrive, which is like the whole point of this. FoilDrive can be used by complete beginners, or it can be used by the best of the best, like Tom Earl and others. So it's a real pleasure to work with Tom. It was just such a fun event. It really was.
What's Lucas' position? Is he also on your team, or just enjoys foil driving?
Well, that's a really good question. Lucas has been a team rider for Foil Driver for, he was one of the first, I think he was the first team rider that I signed on. And it was him and Olivia Piana were the first two that I signed on as team riders. And Lucas is now traveling from his home in Germany to Tenerife, where he's going to have his new home for the next at least 2, 3, maybe 5 years. And he is going to start working for us again 2 days a week, being sort of like a traveling. We haven't found a job description. Well, we've got a job description. We haven't come up with a job role for him, a job title. We don't. He's going to be doing so many things. His skill level is so diverse that we don't quite know how to categorize him. I think that's best just to keep him as a totally open and free. He's basically an opportunity man. What he does best is he finds new and exciting opportunities. He creates the most amazing social media content. He's just such a talented and lovely guy. So the FoilDrive team, crew, family, it's growing, and it's just such an honor to be part of it, working with all these amazing people.
That sounds amazing. How many days before the race? The race was on Saturday, wasn't it?
Well, the FoilDrive race was on Saturday. The elite race was on Friday. The full event was 6 days. But Fred Bonneff, the organizer, he made it perfectly clear to everybody that he was going to call the races according to the conditions. So it didn't matter whether it was the first day or the last day. The conditions dictate when the races happen, and in and amongst then, he'd planned all these really fun little competitions and races throughout, which culminated in, and this is really cool, the final of some of those little fun races, which, when I say fun races, they were taken very seriously. The competitive spirit runs strong in all foilers. So SUP paddle up flat water pumping and dock start flat water pumping. The finals of those took place on the Sunday, the last day. On the Saturday evening after the FoilDrive race in Saint-Tropez Harbour. What a setting! It was amazing.
Yeah, it looked beautiful. The lighting as well, beautiful.
Yeah. And then the prize giving afterwards was really cool because Yax's family all got together. and did a big sort of photo shoot at the podium, and then followed by the FoilDrive family. Because Axis do a collaboration with FoilDrive, they all joined in with that. It was a really special event.
Very nice. I talked to Nico just a couple of hours ago, and he also talked about his experience on the race day. But maybe just before the race day, you said you had a lot of trials, people going for a spin. And how many batteries? Because you must have been like charging batteries all the time and like rigging gear all day long.
Yeah, this is true, but that's just part of the job. I mean, this was a special event. So, in complete honesty and transparency, we wanted to put on a showcase race. The FoilDrive Division, it was always going to be a fun race, but when foilers are concerned, even a fun race ends up being very, very competitive. So each to their own. Most people took it as a proper race, but a few people were like, yeah, I just want to join in with the experience. And I just, so this cracks me up. So Lucas, again, he's such a cool guy. He did really well in the elite race. And in the FoilDrive race, he just said, yeah, I'm just going to have a bit of fun. He would, partway through the race, get into a good section, and he'd literally just be foil driving back time and time again to do laps on that little section. And he came in, I don't know when he came in, but it wasn't about the time, it wasn't about the position for Lucas, it was just about the vibe, about sharing a fun experience with everybody. And there were more people that would do it. Luke Atkinson, at one point, he was in front of me, just literally the bump ahead of me. And I was on a big slow foil. He was on a really surfy foil. And he was just ripping carves all over the place. And I was just happy to cruise just behind watching him. And man, that guy is so talented. So it was a fun race. But I've totally gone off track. What was the question again?
Just like before the race, I was actually asking what you were doing, but let's continue with the race. There were about, how many foil drivers were there on the start? 30?
33. There were 18 in one boat and 15 in the other. So, if my maths is correct, 33 foil drivers. It just blew me away. I mean, the biggest number of foil drivers in any one race, to my knowledge, in Europe so far is 8. Now, I'm pretty sure there's been over 10, I think maybe 12 in one of Dave West's or one of the Australian downwind events, but 33. We were not prepared for that. Oh yeah, that reminded me, that was what I was saying before I went off on one. In all transparency, we approached the Saint-Tropez FoilDrive Division as a showcase race. So I brought 20 of our demo kits in order to make kits available for people who couldn't travel with them. So kits and batteries, we had masses. But what blew me away was the amount of people, proper foil drive owners, who brought their own kits. And there were more people who travelled without their kits, but with a lot of experience in foil drive. And there were a few elite who were asking to join in. So yeah, it was absolutely crazy. The range of ages, skill levels, experience. It really worked because it showcased just the versatility of foil drive, and the conditions weren't great. It would have been brilliant if the conditions had given us, absolutely firing conditions. But that's the beauty of foil drive. Even if you're limited on the conditions, even if it's super light wind and small swell, foil drive still lets you have a really fun time. It lets you, it won't let you down, basically, no matter what happens.
It might be the only option to get on foil. I want to talk about that later on because I was in vacation in Italy, and thank God I had my foil drive with me, because if not, I wouldn't have been able to get on foil sometimes. We're going to talk about that later. Let's come back to the race. There you started, you said 33. How big were the bumps? What gear did you use? Did you go with the slim or the max? What were your choices?
Anybody in the elite, we forced to go with a sport battery, but it wasn't about the power. We kept the rules super simple. The whole point is to make this inclusive for as many people as possible to try and, give people the opportunity to experience a race like this. I was on a max with a power battery because, I just wanted to make sure that everybody was having fun. And, for me, it was about the fun. I'm saying that because I didn't get a place. I didn't get a podium. There was no way I was going to. The standard was very high. But I was on the Fireball 1350, and to be honest, it was a bit of a mistake. Literally the whole day we were doing photo shoot and filming sessions, and I was on the Axis Tempo 1090. Now that's their race foil. I am deeply in love with that foil. It's the most amazing performance. It's not just a race foil. They've designed it as a downwind race foil, but it's just such a good performer in other conditions as well. Like I was, it was flat water in the harbour where we were doing filming, and I was pumping around on it like crazy. Tiny little bumps come in either from wake or just a little residual swell. And I was gliding on those effortlessly. It turns really well. I mean, it's not a surf foil, but it can turn really nicely. You can surf it. It's just amazing. So having been, and it's 747 centimeters squared, which is crazy. But having been on such a small foil, inside the harbour, inside the bay, like I said, it was very flat. So in my mind, I was thinking that's what it's going to be like for the event. Fred actually reduced it. It was going to be a 12K event, but because it was so, such light wind, light, small bumps, it was reduced down to, I think, 7K. And I thought, okay, I'll just use my biggest foil, the Fireball 1350. And the first half, I could have been on the same Tempo 1090. And by the way, Axis foils the names are all measured in wingspan, not area. I could have been on that small foil for the first half, but then the second half, it was really turbulent with lots of wakes sort of causing the small bumps to become very difficult to read. Yeah. And that was what caused me problems, because the 1350, that's the wingspan, it's such a big wingspan, it can't handle that really disrupted turbulence, and it made it really difficult for me. So I came off foil quite a few times in that last section. But, it was a fun event. It was a fun race. Some people took it super seriously, and I'm glad, because it just, it doesn't matter what your preference is. You can have fun. You can be super competitive and enjoy it. You can just carve it up and enjoy it. You can just be there for the crack, just chilling, having fun with the rest of the crew. It's just, it's everything that I hoped it would be and more.
Very nice, very nice. So you said 7K, the race. How was the start? Were there like two boats, two rafts, or two buoys, and then a time countdown? How did that work?
Yeah, it was very similar, if not the same, as the elite race. There were a number of safety boats there. We were lined up between the start boat and this huge, I don't know, it certainly wouldn't call it a buoy. It looked like a lighthouse in the middle of the ocean sort of thing, one of those stone structures. So, yeah, he gave us a 3-minute warning, and then a 1-minute warning, and then 3 to 1 go. And it's quite an awe-inspiring sight to see the elite paddling up at the start of a race. That was not the case with the FoilDrive Division. There was a lot of water being sprayed out by props, but everybody, it was just the start of a race. We tried very hard to, the briefing was very safety orientated. We were like, guys, come on, there's bare props. We need to just make sure that nobody cuts in front of each other, especially at the start. We've got to be mindful not to go too close to anybody, that sort of thing. So, really important, safety.
There was a little mayhem with Nico. Can you tell us about that as well?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure Nico won't mind me relaying the story. I think he was taking off, and somebody was next to him just in front, and they misjudged it. Their foil went up in the air, and the foil landed on his safety helmet. Thank God he was wearing a bump hat. because it was an impact cut. So even with, a hard helmet, one of those bump caps, he got a cut, and of course it's a head wound, so it bled a lot. He didn't get concussion. The safety boat picked him up, and obviously he was looked after, and then he went to hospital afterwards to be checked out properly. He ended up having 3 stitches, but yeah, it's a real warning call to us all that if he hadn't been wearing a helmet, I just dread to think, we've got to get that message across to people. Safety first. So important.
Absolutely. And I have to get a new helmet because mine is broken a little bit in the back, and it hurts a bit when I wear it. So that's why I didn't use it that much. But yeah, I should definitely get a new one just in case. You never know. There's always something that could happen.
Indeed. And I know some people who say that they don't wear them because they don't look cool. That's, you've got to weigh up what's important to you. But I think nowadays with these new, I keep saying the term bump cap, there's a whole range of, things that look like snapback, baseball caps, even bucket hats that have got hard shells underneath them. Yeah. And, if you're concerned about your looks, then maybe that's something to look out for. But, the argument that I would put forward is, if you don't wear one, then you might end up looking less than cool if you've got a big scar across your face. So,
plus, Baltz with his, he has very nice collars on his helmet, and he wears them even when he's just sitting around. So really, it's just a getting used to, I think.
Yeah, I really admire the pro team riders who project a responsible image to everybody in the foiling world, because there's a lot of people who look up to them, especially the youngsters or the Groms. They look up to these guys like bulls, and it's great to see him and others pushing the safety and the responsible side of what is potentially a dangerous sport. It has risks. We've got to be sensible about these things.
Was Saint-Tropez your last stop in these events? I know there's Crozon, but I don't think there's FoilDrive, is there?
No, they don't have a full assist division in Crozon. And it probably is the last event, certainly the last big race event of this season. My next stop is Abu Dhabi. There's a water sports festival there, part of the GKA World Tour, where the SFT are also doing some e-foil and wake and maybe some pump events. So we're going there. And then after that, there's just a few sort of indoor B2B events like Met in Amsterdam. And then I suppose after that, we're in January back to Moat in Düsseldorf. Yeah. Although the Paris Nautique show, I'm not sure if we're going to actually exhibit there. I'm certainly going to go there and see what it's like. We're considering that for next year. So yeah, FoilDrive, we're slowly finding our feet. We've been doing this for 5 years now, 2 years in Europe, and it's still very much a learning curve. There's, obviously the foiling scene, the water sports scene, is where we're most at home. That's our main area, but there's so many other sides to it. The boating industry, all these competitions. It's like I say, it's a learning curve.
I would say people are getting kind of used to FoilDrive, to the motors, because when I remember back, like even half a year or a year, people were looking at these foil assists like, I don't know, it doesn't look cool and whatnot. And now people are kind of accepting it. Do you feel the same? Is there a shift in thinking about these things?
I suppose it depends on your perspective. I mean, overall, and I guess that I do have a pretty good overview because I travel around Europe, the UK, even to the Middle East and other places. I would agree with you. Definitely, there was some skepticism. But to me, that seems like a long time ago, because the Gen 1, there was a lot of skepticism. That was the plastic box on top of the board. Yeah. When the Gen 2 was launched, it was an instant hit. And when we finally took it to AWSI, by then, it had already been accepted within the industry and within the foiling world by most open-minded people. And it's recognized now. I think within the industry as being almost indispensable. I mean, look at how many brands are doing collaborations with FoilDrive. It's not only recognized as an extremely good product for beginners and for anybody who wants to have more time on foil, literally anybody in any foiling discipline. But look at the riders. There's Paul Cooper, Josh Koo, James Casey, Olivia Piana, Julia Castro. So many pro riders from that level throughout the entire spectrum of foiling. And all of these people are super cool. You know, I think it would be unfair for anybody to try and claim that FoilDrive or foil assists aren't cool, because it's not the device. It doesn't matter what device you're using. You can be on a surfboard and be a real dick. You know, you can be on a foil assist and be a... I'm not singling them out, because you can be on a foil board and be a real dick. Or
Absolutely.
a real kook. You can be a kook or a dick on anything. But you can be super cool, super chilled, super amazing on anything. It's the person, not the tool. So this is what I mean. It's not the device or the equipment that I think is what people should be focusing on. It's the person. You know, if you've got somebody who's ripping through the lineup on a motorized craft, yeah, they are being absolutely irresponsible and should not be doing it. You know, if you're motorized, you should be going away from people and being responsible. And this, I think this is a good moment, if you'll allow me to indulge myself for a minute in a safety message. You are right. Foil drives are becoming more accepted, therefore more people are using them, and therefore is the risk that, you know, they could upset people, they could cause injuries. So I think it's super important for us, and I think FoilDrive we're working very hard to put across a responsible message. We've got our Crowd Suck campaign, where we're telling people, go away from the crowds, just find somewhere where, you know, you can enjoy foiling without messing other people's experience. FoilDrive gives you the power to do that. So, yeah, I think foil driving is being accepted, but there will always be the odd person who just either doesn't know through lack of education or ignorance or just the type of person that they are. But they're not restricted to foil assists. They're in every walk of life, and it's up to the rest of us to just politely educate them.
Totally agree. I totally agree. But yeah, as you didn't have any problem there, that's already a good thing. I want to tell you about my experience with FoilDrive on vacation, because I was in the southeast of Italy, in Apulia, and it was beautiful there. I brought all my gear. I brought FoilDrive, of course, and then I brought like a mid-length. I wanted to go para-winging. I brought like dock start pump foils, and I thought, well, there's certainly a place to start. There was one rock, and eventually, like in the last couple of days, I managed to start from there, but sometimes it was onshore wind, but not enough to get on foil with the para-wing. More often than not, it was just not enough wind to get on foil with the para-wing. So I used FoilDrive a lot. I strapped it to my 20-liter pump foil board with the antenna that you sent me, which was super cool, because like that I had signal. And at first I had some trouble to get on foil, but then in the end, even with the Slim, I used a couple percent of battery to get on foil, and then just surfed all the way down. I had battery to spare even with the Slim, which was super nice. But then like motoring against the waves, that's still a little problem for me, just because they were not super regular. Like the waves came back from the beach and it was a little messy, but still it was more often than not the only way to get on foil. So I was super happy about that. That was really nice.
And this is on a, what did you say, a 20-liter board?
Yeah, it was like a pump foil board from Indiana that I use for dock starting or wake foiling. And like I even managed to get on foil against the waves, so like parallel to the waves in the end. And then with the waves, really it was no problem whatsoever. And I really enjoyed that. In the first week, I only went out with my mid-length, and then I strapped it on the small one. It was really cool, because also with the small board, I can actually really just pump foil. Even in the flat, I can just get on foil and pump around without the motor, which was super nice. Really enjoy that. And then I had a fun session with my daughter. She just turned 6, and I went with the mid-length again, and she was like on my back, and then we got on foil, and she held. It was like my little backpack, and we just foiled around, cruised around, made on little bumps, and she enjoyed herself so much. It was amazing, really cool.
That's so cool. And I know there's something I want to ask you now, and this is from one of our previous conversations. How did you phrase it? Why do you think that the Slim with the performance battery is the best choice for families?
Yeah. Just because when there was onshore wind, I had to motor against the wind and the waves, and that took some battery. So after like 25 minutes, I was back on shore, and that's like the family-friendly battery. Because with the Max, I could have gone for 90 minutes, and I cannot be out for 90 minutes and then just barely show up, put the next battery in. So I was just out for 20 minutes maybe, came back, had a little break, did some things with the kids, and then went back out with another Slim. So that's exactly, it's a family-friendly battery, the Slim.
That's brilliant. I love that so much. Yeah, I remember now you saying it, the family-friendly battery, because it means you can't spend too long away from your family. That's brilliant.
Exactly.
I also remember
it's perfect.
a reel that you put up when you first tried. I think it was one of the first, maybe the first few sessions of you ever using FoilDrive, and I think it must have been that pump board you were talking about. And normally when I'm teaching people or telling them a technique for using FoilDrive the first time, I tell them you've got to regulate your speed. You should be going quite fast so that the board's skimming over the top of the water, but not fast enough that you're lifting up on foil before you stand up. Because I tell people, if you're on foil and then you try and stand up, it's almost impossible. It's so difficult. And then I watched your video. You're proper on foil, lying on your chest, and then you just do a little jump or pop up straight up onto your feet, and I could not believe it, because your first or second go on FoilDrive, and I would love to be able to do what you just did in that reel. So yeah, it's superb technique, flawless.
I fell down a lot that day. I remember it was at Lake Garda, and now I do it differently. I do it the way you do it, and I really had to learn to manage that trigger, because I went full on speed and just went on foil as soon as possible. And now I think I can manage it better. Like having this last maybe 20%, not giving all you can, not that the last boost that helps a lot. And for my kids even, I toned it down. Like I put the maximum of 70%. And for them, it's so much easier because they don't go too fast. And sometimes even for me, that's enough. So that's really a good thing to just manage that a little bit. And you can easily do that on the water as well. So that's really no problem.
Yeah, well, we've got something new coming very soon that will help with that a lot. You're right, the trigger is very sensitive. With anything that you need a level of precision to control it, precision gives you more control. So it's better when you're used to it and experienced. It's just harder when you're getting used to it. So if it was like just a very small amount of throttle over a big distance, that's, less precision, ultimately less control. So that would be easier as a beginner, but then it would be really, it would hold you back when you're good. So although it's difficult to begin with, you very soon get used to that level of precision controlling the throttle with your trigger. But yeah, super difficult in the first few sessions. But like I say, generally speaking, people pick that level of control up very quickly, and then it helps.
That is true. Plus, it's, as you said, it's just another discipline, and you always need time. I make this mistake so many times when I thought, like, I know how to foil, and I go into a new discipline and I struggle, and then like, all right, it's a new discipline. I just need some time to get that going. What I also did on vacation, and I thought a lot about you, I called it I'm doing a DOM, because as I said, there wasn't enough wind to pair-wing often. So I went out again with the pump foil board and I flew the pair-wing. So I went on foil and then deployed the pair-wing and was able to pair-wing around. That's actually the only time I was able to fly the paella, because there was not enough wind. And with being on foil and then deploying the pair-wing, that actually worked, which was super cool. And I even managed to do a couple of jibes, but then eventually I fell and I was out with my 20-liter board again. I sat on my board and wanted to have the wind empty the pair-wing, the double-skin pair-wing, but there was not enough wind to empty it. And I was sitting that deep in the water that I couldn't get it back up. And I wasn't even able to put it back in my pouch because there was air bubbles everywhere and it was just too big. So I had to just take it all together and actually swimming because there were lines everywhere, and that was yeah, that was something.
Do you know what the internet is a really cool thing because it shows you, or social media, it shows you the cool stuff that people are doing. And I've seen at least 3 or 4 different people doing what you've just described, parawinging with a pump board. Now, you've done it with FoilDrive to get up on foil. The ones I've been watching on social media are doing it by dock starting and then
I did that too,
throwing out there. Yeah. But what they don't show you is if you fall in deep water with a pump board, that's bad enough on its own because you've then got to paddle a sinker board all the way back to the start point. But if you add in a parawing into that equation, it's a nightmare. And sometimes I do wish, so thank you very much for sharing that experience because nobody else has shared the potential risks of that and the dangers. You know, the lines can get wrapped around the board or the foil or worse still, around part of you and the foil or the board. And then it's, it's super difficult to untangle, especially if you're in waves and in the surf zone. Anyway, as you know, I use FoilDrive for parawinging. I mean, I can parawing without FoilDrive if I'm on a, decent wind, 60 litres, but, 80 litres, no problem, even in light winds. But I choose to use FoilDrive because I want to use a 40-litre board. I've done it with my 31-litre prone board, but it's always that compromise of ease of use and the level of performance that I want. And that compromise for me, my 40 or 50-litre mid-length sort of FoilDrive boards, if I'm going offshore by more than a kilometre, I'll minimum 50 litres just for safety, for the extra float if I need to paddle in. But anywhere else, my 40-litre Axis pocket trench boards, it's just so easy to use and it feels like a tiny prone board underfoot. And I can get on foil with a parawing so easily with FoilDrive. And then I put the controller into the front pouch of my PFD, sorry. And then I'm just parawinging. And it was funny when I was at AWSI, somebody saw me doing it and complete chance. I heard them when I got back to the event site. I heard this guy going, "Oh yeah, man, there was this guy double cheating out there," and his friends said, "What do you mean double cheating?" And he said he had a parawing and a FoilDrive, and I went, "Yeah, that was me." And I said, "What do you mean double cheat?" So the FoilDrive, I don't mind you calling it a cheat code. Yes, it is. I'm loving the cheat code. Thank you very much. But why do you consider the parawing to be a cheat code? And he was a die-hard paddler. And I didn't say anything else out of respect because everybody's got their own opinions and their preferences and who's to argue against what anybody else feels is, what they want to do, what they feel is right. But I sort of, a bit of me wanted to point out to him that last year's AWSI was all about the SUP paddle-ups. And the SUP paddlers were everywhere at Hood River. And it was the hype, it was the talk, it was everywhere. Everybody was trying it. Everybody wanted to do it. This year, they're like a dying breed. Now, I've got to put that in context. At Hood River, literally from the SUP paddlers, I saw 2 groups of SUP paddlers the entire time at the hatchery. I saw about 4 people in the entire event trying to do flat water paddle-ups. Everybody else there was the same amount of wingers and kiters, but everybody else was on either FoilDrive or parawings. And it depends where you are in the world, because SUP paddling is not a dying breed. It's not dying off, because it depends where you are in the world. There are certain areas where SUP paddling is the best choice. There are certain areas where parawinging, like Hood River, is the best choice. But yeah, it was just funny that somebody who, has got SUP paddling, they're so focused on that they even consider harrowinging to be a cheat, or anything that they're not doing, basically. I was just thinking, come on, guy, have an open mind. It's that's what you a bit.
I'm sure that there's some jealousy going with that statement.
Who knows? I don't want to
really,
judge without
it's
knowing.
so much easier. Have you paddled up? Do you know how to paddle up?
I did it.
Huh?
Well, I was in Thailand at the Sonova Board Dealers Conference when it was literally the first of the long, narrow SUP boards had just been designed and released, and I tested it out on the Sonova, the first ever Sonova sort of long, narrow downwind boards, and I did do it a few times. It nearly killed me, and I'm 54. Back then, I suppose I must have been 52-ish, and I thought, yeah, 10, certainly 20 years ago, I'd probably be one of those gung-ho people that would just not stop until they've got it dialed. But at my age, I just want to have fun on the water foiling. I want to be on foil. For me, it's more about the fun on foil rather than the challenge of getting up on foil. And my time is limited. I've got family. I've got work. If I've got an hour or 2 hours, I want to be on foil for an hour or 2 hours. I don't want to spend half of my time trying to get up on foil and half of the rest of my time being too gassed to enjoy being on foil. So it's the choice I make, and I'm quite happy to be called a cheat if anybody considers it that. I don't care.
It's fine. I 100% agree. If I get bored doing these foil sports that I do, because I do them too much, then I would go back on the paddle as well, but that's just not happening anytime soon. Listen, next May, I'm probably going to be back in Zeeland again, and I would love to go back on the Markermeer, because that was for me one of the best places ever. The day we had then was amazing, and I would love to go this time with the small board as well, with my 20-liter pump board, with a slim maybe, or a big one, doesn't matter. But I want to go there again. Are you up for another go next May-ish?
Man, if you come back here anytime you like, you're always welcome to hang out. And yeah, of course, I'd take you out to the Markermeer. Southwesterlies are best for the Markermeer. Pretty much if it's northwest or southwest, the North Sea works. But yeah, the Markermeer that day was pretty special, wasn't it? It was a really, really smooth, consistent swell.
Incredible conditions. All right, man. I really hope that your trip was a little shorter due to this talk. It was super cool, super interesting. Thank you very much for coming back on.
Awesome. It's a pleasure speaking to you, Matthias. Thanks so much.
All right. Have a safe trip home. See you soon.
Thanks, mate. Bye-bye.
Thank you, man. Is it possible?